getting their staff involved in this market or buying to keep for their staff?
Within this side, let's also learn citizens' promises. See something. This is Souq business landscape.
Welcome back to Souq Business Landscape. For those of you watching, don't forget to like and share to your friends so that they can also take part in this discussion. Let's start off with our first story for today. Nigeria's headline inflation eased to 22.22% in June 2025, down from 22.97% in May, marking a 0.75 percentage point drop. This also reflects a sharp decline from the 34.19% recorded in June 2024. Now, according to the National Bureau of Statistics, NBS, the slowdown is partly due to the adoption of a new base year and improved macroeconomic stability. However, on a month-to-month basis, inflation rose slightly to 1.68% from 1.53% in May, suggesting that price increases are still being felt at household level. Food inflation stood at 21.97% year-on-year, significantly lower than 40.87% recorded last year through month-on-month food prices. Also, increased by 3.25% due to a rising cost of staples like tomatoes, pepper, and plantain flour. Core inflation, which excludes food and energy, declined to 22.76% annually, but rose monthly to 2.46%. Urban inflation dropped to 22.72%, while rural inflation slowed to 20.85%. Borno, Abuja, and Benue recorded the highest inflation rate, while Zamfara, Yobe, and Sokoto had the lowest. Despite improvements in annual figures, Nigerians continue to face mounting living costs month to month. Let me start with Souq. What does this mean? Is it actually reflecting on the household?
Well, from the story you just told us, because this is a full script story. From the story you just told us, it's very open and plain that yes, the figures are saying something, whereas the tables are saying a different thing. For the states that were given as pivotal points when inflation rose and where it did not, we still have a whole lot of questions to ask. First of all, double-digit inflation is a no-go area, is a no-no. We look forward to seeing it get down to below 10. That is where the impact will be felt. In the last over 30 days now, that stability and the Naira exchange, we see it coming down a bit. It's no longer the scary 1,006, 1,007, 1,008. It's now between the 1,005 plus 1,005 something. So that also can account for the figures we are getting. But this is majorly going to slightly affect manufacturers because they are the ones that will feel this particular pinch a bit. But for food inflation, which affects the everyday person that gets to the market, this is where we want to see serious drop. We want to see food inflation different from national calculations. Now, if we're able to follow up with government policies on agriculture that we've seen the president start in the last 3 months, and not just acquisition of mechanized farming, but follow down to people getting their hands dirty, getting the farm, planting, harvesting, and following through, then we should be able to see 50% drop in food inflation in the next 2 months. That is what, yes, in the next 2 months, I want to see. Of course, yes. What is going to bring the food inflation down? The market is flooded with grains. The market is flooded with perishables. To crash the price down. That is what we want to see. So let's take our eyes off the papers. Let's take our eyes off Bureau of Statistics calculations and face what is really biting us. Go, plant, harvest, and fill the market.
All right.
Food inflation will go even below more than half.
All right, Souq, we've seen a situation whereby, or it is being said in Nigeria, that Nigeria is the only place where things go up and never come down. So if you say if we flood the market with staple foods and the rest of them, do you think that would actually drive the price down?
Definitely. It won't drive it to crash it. It will definitely crash it. Now, this is where government needs to play a huge part. Now, several governments have mechanized. They keyed into the government policy. Government brought in a whole lot of tractors, harvesters, planters, all you can name it. Now, let's see those particular equipment get to work. We've seen silos being built. I saw one on my way back from Abuja. So let's see more of those. So let's people start planting. But now government has to also come in and make sure that they subsidize those that are actually planting, not people that have communities and all manner of societies and say they are farmers. No, the real people that are planting. Government should get down and through the Ministry of Agriculture, be the Ministry of there's one new ministry they had for animals, animal husbandry and co.
Yes.
Through down to the river basins, because they are also working with farmers, down to local government, down to extension workers. Let's see food soldiers on the ground. Once we are able to cultivate times 5 of what we did 4 months ago, it will bring down the price as long as government put their money down. That way the farmer is not spending too much to grow the crop. As long as his basic needs are met, why would the prices go up? Then now, let's say you get to the market and you have 1,000 bags of rice where you used to have 100. If you don't bring your price down, let's say who will buy?
Priya, coming to you, what are your thoughts? And also add to this, you remember the rice pyramid. Do you think we can ever have something like that?
The rice pyramid, well, it's an aspiration. We need to aspire to get there. First of all, Souq spoke extensively about if you have 1,000, if you have 1,000 bags of rice where you used to have 100, the producers will be forced to bring it down because it's going to crash. But if they are going to bring it down because they feel it's going to crash, what about their overhead in production of 1 bag of rice?
That's the government need to come in.
Okay. Because when we talk about the government coming in, that's if they really come through for those people, and if the governments that come in are even consistent in the case. Yes, we can speak about Lagos State, where you have some markets, positioned in different places where they are on agreement with the farmers and those who are bringing these staples from their farms to those government designated areas for the intention of subsidizing those products that are being sold to the people. How many governments are doing that? And let's not forget that these people too, the government itself is not going to buy it at the actual price. The government itself purchase it for a subsidized amount from the hand of the farmers, because these farmers are selling in large quantity and they see an authority or an institution that is going to buy such a large quantity and house to be sold in a subsidized amount to the people, they are going to be having, to also make it. Let's not forget that I don't want to use the word capitalist, the man that is a private business person himself can even go to the same persons to buy the same quantity which the government can afford and keep it back, so the government can have a few to purchase. And after that of the government is exhausted, they bring out theirs and they, heap up some form of money on it to sell at the prices of which they are going to gain. You can vividly see that the uptick in the household staples is even still there. From 1.53%, it moved of May last year to 1.63% this year. So you can see it's not abating, it's even going up. And that's based on the pressures, on the pressure on the purchasing power of the man at the ebb of society. Because even if these things go up, the purchasing power of the man has been severely depleted. So he is not, you said 2 months. I think I see all through the year. For me, we look through all through the year. And the CPI, from 34%, it went down to 22%. This is the paper that we were talking about. Of what benefit, of what advantage do we then have to households? Because household actually dropped. It progressed in the inflation. This is as a result of the inflation management, and it's attributed to what? To the CPI, which is the rebasing that we did recently. And I was telling Doc and Olumide some time ago on this table that the rebasing is just a sham. If it does not reflect on the bucket of the man, if it does not reflect on you cannot say because the government is going to capitalize on it and say, okay, we want to reduce inflation from about 38% then. After it was rebased, we got to 27.5%. I want to reduce it to 15%, right? So let's assume that we rebate for how many times within the space of 4 years, or maybe even 8 years, as the case may be.
Okay.
And will not get to 15%. The government will tell you it's as a result of my economic policies that I had in place that actually solved the problem. Yeah, while if you and I look very close, we know it's as a result of the rebasing. So how does that help the man at the grassroots?
Okay, let's leave the rebasing and look at government policies and actions they are putting to those particular government policies. Now, the administration, let's take, for example, the particular mechanization they've done, and it's still ongoing. Let's use Niger State as an example. Now, for the farmer that has spent, let's say he spends 50,000 naira on 1 hectare planting rice. With what? Yes, I'm just giving an example. Now, with that same 50,000 naira, with what is coming in both from the state and the federal government, he can spend that same 50,000 naira. Instead of 1 hectare, he will plant 10 hectares with that same 50,000 naira, because he's exerting lesser energy, he's exerting lesser workforce because of mechanization and what government is bringing in. Now he has planted 10 times what he used to plant with that same amount of money. And now what we're also looking at is not just the same crop, we're looking at higher yielding crops, because everybody is getting involved. From the ministry to the river basins to the research institute, they are there. And what Niger State government is doing is they are telling you it doesn't matter where you're from, who you are, as long as you can get into that place and plant, we will off-take you. So let's say at the end of the day, they plant. Rice is just 3 months. So whoever was planting has started planting before. They didn't start planting now. So let's say they've planted and rice has done over a month. Some should be harvesting that, because you can do 3 times harvest for those that are farming via Fadama. You can do 3 times planting and harvesting in a year. So let's say they do the same thing and plant more, and now there's enough facility to harvest more. They spent the same amount of money. They didn't spend more. I don't know if you understand. So bringing it to the market is not going to take the price up. It will rather crash the price. Let's say government now follows through and buy off these farmers, whereby they don't have the stress of whether it's going to spoil, decay, or not have enough to harvest because of birds that will come and have issues on the farm. Now government has silos within that area to store. So the fear of the middle person is not going to be there. The fear of the person bringing in imports that will crash price or take price up is not going to be there, as long as we are planting enough and harvesting enough. So that will bring the price down. But the only fear here is, are we going to follow through?
Okay, so... Okay.
All right, so add to this, how can we ensure what fiscal, monetary policies, authorities involved can ensure we see a further decline that would actually trickle down to households and not just on paper or document?
So what fiscal measures can complement this inflation drop for inclusive growth? It's, we're going to be meeting again, MPC, Monetary Policy Committee meeting. We're going to be meeting again.
They are going to be meeting.
Okay, so I'm using we because it's our country. It belongs to us.
You won't be there.
We will be here talking about them. So they are going to be meeting again. And even though Olayemi Cardoso, when they met, the last time they met, they sustained it, and they preserved and sustained it at 27.5% for the MPR to now to give loans, and they left it at that. And one of the reasons that he gave was that we are getting some form of positive results and we are doing well. And this is as a result of the recent government economic policies, including the CBN policies with regard fiscal policies and monetary policies that they've been making. And that because we've achieved a little, we should extend it and maintain the status quo for us to really see the gains of the previous meeting. So they maintain the status quo. This time, for more inclusive growth, they should bring it down. If it is still 27.5%, why not bring it to 22, 24%? Maybe if it's too much, maybe 25%. Because if we do that, maybe 25%, because I don't want to sound or look overzealous to mention bring it down to 15% or bring it down to they were like, who is this? What is he even talking about? But that's how we can get inclusive growth. We may not necessarily our target should be those who are giving employment, making employment opportunities and expanding the frontiers of production with regards to our staple food and making it accessible to the mass population that we have. And if we can do that, those private men who want to go to the banks to go and get some loans with the sort of available collateral that they should have in order to access those loans, to expand production in place of manufacturing in all agriculture or mechanized agriculture, like you referred to Niger State. That in that way, we are expanding the frontiers, and we have a lot of people coming in. And when we have a lot of people coming in, I'm sure it's going to, one way or the other, then bring up, because there's abundance, like what you are referring to, then the purchasing power of the man at the head of society can come up. Then we have a lot of people in the employment bracket who are doing these jobs that they can get payment and salaries and access to jobs.
The lesser we import for food, the lesser we import, the better for us.
Yeah, because this strategy,
we'll spend less FX. The man that same man that you are fighting for, the money in his pocket can buy more.
Exactly. Yes,
and that also will bring down our inflation figures.
All right, Priya, your final thoughts.
Well, my final thought is we are looking forward to the meeting that the MP, that Olaime Kadoso and his team are going to be having. And for them to they've maintained the status quo. They've seen that, okay, the gains are coming in. But in order for them to make it rapid, so that we can meet the 2 months forecast that Souq is talking about, and they need to bring down that 27.5%, the NPR, to about 24%.
All right, so we are waiting for the next NPC meeting and the outcome. Let's hope that it will actually trickle down and help the household. Let's move over to our next story. The federal government has reaffirmed its commitment to ending Nigeria's dependence on fish imports by scaling up domestic production. Minister of Marine and Blue Economy Adegboyega Oyetola disclosed this during a consultative meeting with fisheries cooperative groups in Abuja, noting that the country must become self-sufficient in fish production to enhance food security, create jobs, and grow non-oil export. He added that the government will drive the sector through policy innovation, technical support, and financial inclusion, with a strong focus on empowering women and youth through grants and agricultural programs. Stakeholders at the meeting identified key sectorial challenges, including poor access to finance, cold storage limitations, high fish feed cost, and weak transport infrastructure. In response, Oyetola announced ongoing collaborations with World Bank for funding support and the Nigerian Agricultural Insurance Corporation for affordable coverage. He also revealed plans to replicate the successful oil dam aquaculture model in other regions and emphasized the need for sustained dialogue and cross-sector collaborations to reposition Nigeria's fisheries subsector for long-term sustainability. Souq, what are your thoughts about this?
Well, we just want to see Nigeria get better, but now these are government agencies, Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy. Now they are talking about aquaculture. We have Ministry of Agric. What are they going to talk about? We have water basin authorities. What are they going to talk about? When we get to this particular kind of issues and policies, we want to see that synergy across board. Who exactly is handling what? Not Minister of Marine talking about aquaculture. Today, Minister of Agric talking about it. Tomorrow, the Water Basin Authority talking about it. Let's have a structured one suit for everybody, whereby we know that this is where we are going to, and we face it headlong. Now, for them, we have a lot of issues. We have issues of foreign fishermen, trolleys that are not Nigerian flags, fishing in our waters, not even international waters, right in our waters. How are they going to deal with that? Because the issue of overfishing is also an international issue. How are we going to deal with that? Now, a lot of all these fishes is not even serving our market. They are fishing and taken away. How are we going to also make sure that aside those fishing in fresh waters or ocean waters or the seas, we get to see people employed, engaged, taught on fish farming in Sokoto where there is no water, in Abia where there is palm trees up and down. We need to get to a level whereby we won't even think of importing fish. Unlike what we have today. Once you get to every Nigerian market, there's ice fish, as it's called here. There's ice fish in every corner. And 90% of these are all imported. If not 99% of them are imported. Then what happens to our waters? What happens to our people? What happens to the catfish? People call them the scum of the sea. What happens to a lot of these particular ventures that we should be actively engaged and involved and shy away from spending these FX that is going to foreign bodies and creating employment elsewhere. This is where we should be getting to. We want to get to know what are the numbers. If we say this is where we are getting to, it's okay. In 2 years, we are going to cut down our import by this number. In 4 years, there's going to be a tariff on importation of any form of fish or marine product. That is what we want to see. You know that, okay, we should be able to have this amount of big farms or this amount of training. After all, we have universities that are offering courses in all this. What is coming out from there? Is it just certificates? We want to see Nigeria get productive and not depend on foreigners for her food.
So if the peradventure the federal government raised tariffs on these imported fishes, wouldn't that still trickle down to the consumer itself, the people buying it? I mean, these importers will just raise the price, and you and I don't know whether you like croaker fish and all that.
For everything that is imported in this country, we can farm it. We can fish it. For every kind of fish imported in this country, we can farm it or we can fish it. We have waters here. The ocean front is all the way from Lagos down to Bayelsa. Cutting with lagoons into the state. They will have big rivers all the way from rivers down to Sokoto. So why are we not getting into commercial fishing? Why are we not getting into commercial farming as a people? Why are we depending on finished product? That is that same thing that calls mental laziness. We should be able to take care of ourselves. Food security is even more important than armed security. It's more important than military security. So this is also where we should start looking at. Now, after the Nigerian Civil War, we had this issue of importing because of oil money that we saw. So we didn't want to work where there was money to import everything, and we just pay. Sorry, the oil money is not there anymore. We need to work.
Coming to Europe, over-reliance, over-dependence on imported fish.
Okay. First of all, headline inflation is easing, but food inflation spiked because from May we have 2.19%, and in June we're having 3.25%, and this it reflects on the vulnerabilities of the Nigerian agriculture, food supply chain. And if you go to the state level, what actually plays out on the state level is case of the market dynamics on that state level. Because I do not see a place like Rivers State, a place like Delta State and Bayelsa State, where fishery is seen as a major source of income at a subsistent level, and also a source of, taking care of the families. Apart from the market dynamics, because when I went to Delta State, there's some fish that I wanted to buy, and it was supposed to come cheap, but it wasn't. So I was wondering why. Of course, they gave reasons. Oil spillage in some of these rivers where they go to fish, where most of the fish die. And they need to start fishing. Those fish that died by way of oil spillage, because you could barely see the crude on the river. You can't eat those fish because they are poisonous. And it's not good for the health. It's detrimental to the health, so they can't do that anymore. So even in places where you were talking about Sokoto, some of these landlocked states that have no access to sea, but they've gone to create artificial ponds for them to engage in fish farming. And as a result of that, some of them may not even really have the right knowledge and the expertise on what to feed these fishes with. And sometimes they use things that might be detrimental to the health of the people as well. In some of these states, when they do that, they are equally faced by insecurity because they are chased away from their farms by bandits and terrorists. So you could see that we are the local market at the state level. Apart from the market dynamics, insecurity has its own quota, so it's depleting, and it affects the food chain, the fish, what do you call it, food chain. And in that specific case, we can see the result of it. Inflation went to 3.25%, and it's not abating, even though the headline inflation is abating. So we have to take care of this. In other words, I'm still going to go back to what I said earlier on. Yes, make these loans available for those who are going into fishing. For places like the River State, please, when government or previous government have planned cleanups, please let them carry out the cleanup. When people from the Niger Delta are crying that, look, we have oil spillage here, we cannot go to fish anymore, the government should not stay back and act like they are not hearing the cry of these people. Go in there, fix the problem. And if you think that the oil spillage that has taken place in their immediate vicinity is going to keep them from farming for the next 3 months, for the next 6 months, provide an alternative source of income for these people. If you need to create an artificial pond somewhere by giving them monies as a starting package, please do it, because the activities of multinational corporations and multinational enterprises are the ones that are causing it. So the government will need to hold them to account, because affecting that alone is having a direct or indirect effect in food inflation. And if government thinks it's fighting food inflation by not tackling all this root cause, I think it's a waste of time.
All right, thank you very much. Let's quickly take our last story for today. It has to do with Donald Trump. Now, U.S. President Donald Trump has signaled a broader expansion of his administration's tariff strategy, confirming potential trade agreements with India and Japan following a recently concluded deal with Indonesia. Trump stated that the U.S. would live by the letter on a newly imposed 25% tariff on imports from Japan and South Korea, effective August 1st, and also hinted over 150 smaller trading partners would also receive notices of uniform tariff payment exceeding 10%. He added that more trade announcements are imminent as part of a wider effort to rebalance trade and protect the U.S. manufacturing. Despite earlier expectations, Trump said a comprehensive deal with Japan may not materialize, while expressing optimism over upcoming negotiations with India, currently facing a 26% U.S. tariff rate. Top U.S. trade officials are engaged in parallel discussions with European Union representatives, even as the EU prepares countermeasures against a threatened 30% tariff. Now, the administration maintains that its aggressive tariff policy, which includes a universal base rate of 10% and up to 55% for countries like China, is key to shrinking the trade deficit and revitalizing domestic industry. Chooks, what is going on with Trump? Is he...
Trump is okay. He's right. He's right there, doing well. Well, in his policy, before he came on board, he said what he's about to do, and he's towing that same line. Well, he's looking at countries where they have a trade deficit, and he's telling his people, if you're bringing these things here, you're going to pay tariff on them to see if our industry will grow. Are they growing? Well, those living and doing business in the States, you will be the ones to tell us if this is having a positive effect or not. But for we that are getting the tariff slammed on our goods, what do you do? That's the real question that we should be asking. Nigeria, Africa, what do you do? They are taking majorly raw materials from Africa, not finished products, not semi-finished products, not secondary products. So on those particular products, they are taking, and from us, they are putting tariffs on them. We are taking more from them. Africa is taking more from the US than the US is taking from us. So Africa it's not difficult. You reciprocate. If you really need it, then good and fine, you pay tariff for it too. If you don't, then good and fine, go source it from outside. It's not difficult. It's not difficult. This is, now we've gone past the era of military might and military war. It's now the tariff war. Let everybody play. Come to the table and you play. It's when you are bullied and you cower to a side, that is when there's a problem. So Africa, don't cower. Look for a market to sell. Don't just come to buy. You see, this is where the issue is. For a very long time, we've only been coming to the market to buy. Let's get our act together and sell. Then let's also match them tariff for tariff. If they really want it, then they should pay for it.
Thank you very much. Yeah, tariff for tariff. African leaders, are they playing it like China or the other way?
The thing is, the United States tariff on Japan, South Korea, and some other countries are going to, most of them are going to kick off on August 1st. And people see it as a trade protectionism for the United States. Some will say it's not protectionism. It's just trying to put America at the forefront. And look, hey, enough is enough. Let's depart from the status quo. So emerging markets like Nigeria and other African goods need to take advantage of this. But before they need to take advantage, what are the disadvantages? We are going to experience demand shifts. Global forex will be affected because there will be market volatility. Our goods will be taxed as it's going there. Those who are exporting the goods, we need to, like, okay, maybe they need to add the prices there. Or if you can, like he's suggesting to most of the countries, Trump, hey, you know what? We are not going to, in fact, we'll give you 0 tariff if you come over to the United States and set up your manufacturing hub. Trump is not trying to, he's not being wicked on these countries. He's trying to provide a platform for negotiation. And it's not just trying to provide a platform to negotiation, like, okay, I need you to come, let's negotiate and talk. But you know what, I want to put you on the edge first. So you're not coming to him with an advantage. You are coming to him defensively, so that he gives himself the upper hand. So by the time we come to the table for negotiation, he's leaving that table a winner because the pendulum would swing to his direction. The trade war, as a result of Donald Trump's tariff, will set United States and the Asian countries for these trade tensions. But you know what? It creates the space for the African countries, most especially Nigeria and other emerging markets, to come in. We'll divert our attention from the U.S. and some other clients that will, will tariff our goods. We'll find a new market for it, and our attention is where? Asia. But so if we look at Asia, what is our export to Asia, Chooks? What are we exporting? Manufacturing goods. Because if you enter most of our supermarkets, they are flooded with goods manufactured, coming from India, coming from China. So if we go that direction, are we going to be on the advantage as well? The only place that I think we might be on an advantage if India's request for Nigeria's crude go up. Because maybe they might, if they fall away from the United States, they might want to deplete their import of crude from the United States, and they want to increase the one they'll be getting from Nigeria. Maybe that would be an advantage, but you know what? Manufactured products will more than double what we currently have coming from Asian countries into Nigeria and emerging markets in Africa, because the Asians too, they will turn their attention to Africa and they will want to up their game. So when they turn their attention here, what are we going to gain from that? Would there be truly new markets open for the African market for us to export? Because our manufacturing is quite low compared to the manufacturing coming from India, coming from China, coming from Japan, coming in from South Korea. Ukraine is fighting a war. They are still exporting. We have a lot to learn. And we must not really go with this green energy and green solution thing that United Nations is preaching. Yes, because we are a member country, we have to abide by that charter, but we know we want to put the country, our own country and our economy first. We need to really industrialize our domain, because this is what we have as our own raw crude beneath us. They need it. They are still finding a way for them to have green energy. Look, electric cars. How many electric cars were to? From data, it's like we have 25% of manufacturing charging ports in the UK. People are looking for where to charge their electric cars in the UK, because it cannot. the charging spots that they have cannot cater to all for 100% of the electric vehicles that they have in the UK. In spite of the fact that they have a stable electric power system.
Should you be worried about another man's
No,
problem?
I'm just trying to make an argument why Africa and Nigeria should not be selling this. Or when it is sold to us, we should not just buy it.
Okay.
So if in the UK where electric power is stable to an extent, they can have such a problem of charging their electric vehicles.
How much more?
How much when we now come to Nigeria, you are telling us China is saying we want to build an electric vehicle manufacturing or assembling plant or charging port somewhere in the northern part of the country or in the Federal Capital Territory. Okay, so let's hope that we are going to have 24 hours consistent power for the next 25, 30 years. Not only in Abuja, for the whole country, before we can, even at that. Yes.
Let's focus on issues we can start solving now.
So that is
plan ahead.
No, I'm just trying to point the disadvantage.
Trump's tariff war, it's already having repercussions, even on the America itself. Sometime in the last 3 days, what is it called? There is this company in India, partner that's making Apple products.
Yes.
And a lot of their engineers are from China. The Chinese, they stood up, packed their bags, and went back to China. Now there is an issue. Well, is it from India? Is it from China? Nobody has taken responsibility for why they left. Even if India is having issues with immigration issues with Chinese, but nobody has taken responsibility why they left. But whose company is it? It's an American company in India, or an Indian company servicing an American company. So these are things that we need to start looking at. If it's going to affect us, how is it going to affect us? How do we deal with it? How do we surmount it? That is our own business. Whoever wants to drop his tariff should drop his tariff. But for us as a people, how do we deal with it? If it's the oil that is focusing, then good and fine. The government can try its best possible and push the refineries to work, push private refineries to work. That entire quota we are sending to them, we can refine it and sell it to Nigerian Republic, sell it to Congo, sell it across Africa. Even sell the refined product to Europe. They want it. So let's solve our problem and leave Trump's problem.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, gentlemen. We have exhausted our time, and this is where we will draw the curtains on today's episode of Souq Business Landscape. If you would have enjoyed this, why not comment, like, and share? Follow us on all our social media platforms at Souq News Television. From here on, Priya.
Yes, I am Oyin Priya Kurumalevini. Thanks for watching, and it's right, very, very good that we did this today together. We'll do it again tomorrow. Thanks for watching.
Chooks.
Thank you very much for being part of this particular program today. To the Nigerian police, thank you very much. My name is Chooks, John Rogers. Chooks, we'll do this again tomorrow. Thanks, Olumide.
And I remain Olumide Shokoya. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Take Nigeria because it's the mind that needs to first of all be rebranded.
Idris said he's going to be putting Nigerian labor, Nigeria content and materials first.
If you say Nigeria first and it is just us down here that, are pushing that agenda, it's going to be a big struggle.
Do you think Nigerian firms, Nigerian organizations should start looking at getting their staff involved in this market or buying to keep for their staff?
Within this side, let's also learn citizen diplomacy. See something. This is Souq Business Landscape.
The management of Femi Walsh, owners of Souq News Television and the Isle 95.9 FM, extends its deepest sympathies to the family, friends, and associates of Nigeria's former president, Muhammadu Buhari. We join the nation in celebrating the life of a leader who played a defining role in Nigeria's history, both as a military head of state and as a democratically elected president.
Gentlemen, As has already been announced, the Supreme Military Council met yesterday and after an exhaustive deliberation, approved your appointments as military governors for the 19 states of the Federation. Your choice for this assignment is based mainly on your personal merit and the confidence which the members of the Supreme Military Council have in your ability to discharge the responsibilities of a military governor in the best interests of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and without fear or favor, affection or ill will, in accordance with the oath which you have just taken.
International community for the concerted response to COVID-19. The solidarity and the drive to contain the first truly global health emergency of our time is a pointer to the many things we can achieve if we work together. On our part, Nigeria has made strenuous efforts to contain the virus and hold its deadly onslaught on our people. Our efforts have been rewarded with moderate success. At the outset, we recognize detection and contact tracing to be important tools in combating the virus. In this connection, from a mere 4 laboratories with testing and detection capacities, we ramped up the facilities to over 140 centers today. Similarly, we built isolation centers and emergency hospitals wards in record time all over the country. We carry out genomic sequencing in designated laboratories across the country with a view to detecting variants in circulation.
At this solemn moment, we honor his service, reflect on his legacy, and pray for strength and comfort for those he leaves behind. From all of us at Femi Welsh Limited, may his soul rest in peace.